day Mike Tyson truly died, 1988. Secrets. Mike Tyson was a god. 91 seconds. That's all it took to destroy Michael Spinks. The world saw a monster, a machine, the baddest man on the planet. But they were wrong. Behind those cold eyes, the real Mike Tyson was already dying. He wasn't losing to a fighter. He was losing to the ghosts of his own life. This isn't about a knockout. This is about the day the iron started to rust. The day the legend truly died. Cus D'Amato was more than a trainer. He was the wall, the shield between Mike and the Wolves. In 1985, that shield broke. Cus died. And in 1988, that's when the cracks finally split Mike wide open. Without Cus, Mike was a king without a crown, a weapon without a safety. He was the baddest man on earth. But inside, he was still that scared kid from Brownsville. The kid who just wanted someone to say, "I'm proud of you, Mike." Cus didn't just teach him the peekaboo, he taught him how to survive his own mind. But by 1988, the gym felt cold, empty. The discipline was fading. The anger was turning into chaos. The voices of the gym rats were getting louder than the voice of his mentor. Kevin Rooney was still there, sure, but Rooney wasn't a father. And Mike, he was drifting. He started looking for love in the wrong places. He started looking for a family and people who only saw a dollar sign. Dollar. It's the secret no one talks about. Tyson didn't lose his edge because he stopped training. He lost it because his soul was mourning. Every time he stepped into the ring in '88, he was looking for Cus in the corner. But the corner was filled with suits, lawyers, leeches. The ghost of Cus was watching his boy fly too close to the sun, and the wax was starting to melt. Imagine having the world at your feet, but the only person you wanted to share it with is underground. That's the 1988 secret. The physical Tyson was a beast, but the emotional Tyson, he was a funeral waiting to happen. And the iron wasn't just rusting, it was crying. 1988 wasn't just a year of fights, it was a year of theft. The vultures were circling. And Mike? He was the carcass they wanted to pick clean. Enter Don King, the man with the electric hair and the poisonous smile. He didn't see a champion, he saw a gold mine. Don King didn't care about the peekaboo. He didn't care about the legacy of Cus D'Amato. He cared about the contracts, the percentages, the millions. He started whispering in Mike's ear, "Oh, they're using you, Mike. Your team is robbing you." Irony? The biggest thief in boxing was calling everyone else a liar. And then there was Robin Givens, the 1988 love story that was actually a horror movie. They say love is blind. For Mike, it was a blindfold leading to a cliff. Every night was a battle. Not in the ring, but in the living room. The famous 2020 interview. Watch Mike's face. He looks drugged. He looks broken. And sitting there while his wife calls him a monster on national TV. The man who could knock out giants was paralyzed by a girl's words. The secrets of '88 are buried in those divorce papers. The millions disappearing. The luxury cars bought to fill the void. The training sessions, they became a joke. Why run at 4 a.m. when you're fighting for your sanity at midnight? Don King was cutting the ties between Mike and Kevin Rooney. The last link to his father, Cus, was being severed with a gold-plated axe. By the end of 1988, Tyson had all the belts, but he had no one to trust. The vultures weren't just eating his money, they were eating his soul. He was the heavyweight champion of the world, and the loneliest man on the planet. The iron was no longer being forged. It was being sold, piece by piece. Tokyo, February 1990. The world thought it was a formality, a 42-1 underdog. Buster Douglas didn't stand a chance. Oh, but the Mike Tyson who stepped off that plane wasn't the monster from '88. He was a shell. The 1988 secrets had finally caught up. No Kevin Rooney in the corner, no Cus D'Amato in his heart. Just Don King's puppets and a bucket of ice, literally. They didn't even have a proper end swell to fix his eye. They used a latex glove filled with cold water. Professional? No, it was a circus, and Mike was the tired lion who had forgotten how to roar. The training camp in Tokyo was a disaster. Parties, women, no discipline. Mike was knocked down in sparring. The warnings were there, but the iron was too arrogant to listen. He thought he could win on reputation alone. But Buster Douglas had a secret weapon, a reason to fight. His mother had just died. He was fighting for her soul. Tyson? He was fighting for a paycheck he'd never see. Every jab from Douglas was a reminder of the 1988 neglect, the lack of head movement, the flat feet. The peekaboo style was dead. When Mike finally hit the canvas in the 10th round, the world gasped. But if you looked closely at his eyes while he scrambled for his mouthpiece, you didn't see a champion. You saw a man who was relieved that the pressure was over, relieved that the facade had finally cracked. Tokyo wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the funeral for the 1988 version of Mike. The invincibility was gone. The baddest man on the planet was just a man, bleeding, confused, and alone. All the iron had finally melted in the Tokyo sun, and the vultures? They were already looking for their next meal. We look back at 1988 and we see the highlights, the knockouts, the gold, the glory. But now you know the truth. The belts didn't make Mike Tyson. The people around him broke him. It's a lesson for all of us. You can be the strongest man in the world. You can have millions in the bank. But if your foundation is gone, if your cuss is missing, the tower will fall. But Mike Tyson didn't lose his greatness in the ring. He lost it in the quiet moments, in the whispers of the vultures, in the empty rooms of his mansion. The world loves a winner, but they rarely love the man. Today, Mike is at peace. He's not Iron Mike anymore. He's a father, a grandfather, a man who survived himself. But we still wonder, what if Cuss had lived? What if 1988 hadn't been full of secrets? Maybe the iron would have never rusted. But maybe he had to die to be reborn. To the fans who lived through the 80s, we didn't just watch a boxer. We watched a Greek tragedy in boxing trunks. Respect the legend. But remember the cost, because in the end, the toughest opponent Mike Tyson ever faced was the man in the mirror. Thanks for walking down this dark alley of history with me. If you remember the Iron Era, hit the like button for Mike and subscribe to keep the real stories of the ring alive. Until next time, stay strong.